Hello everyone, this is Ahmed Saleh again. Today I have a new video for you. I'm going to talk about one of the customization that sometimes we need to do in the Dataverse forms. Sometimes we would like to add some kind of business logic to enforce this business logic in these forms. We might need to go beyond what we have out of the box in the Dataverse by using the client side scripting using JavaScript, for instance. What the data that I have here, we're gonna work today in just one table here. So I have this customer tables, and I'm gonna show you real quick the columns that I have here in this table, and then we're gonna go to the form where we're gonna start exploring how we can accomplish some kind of client-side scripting on that form. So I have these columns for this table, so I'm gonna go ahead real quick and sort by the prefix that I have. I know that we have a new idea actually. I'm gonna post this idea as well in the video below in the description. We used to have a way to filter the column to get the custom column and to get the standard columns, and with the new layout for the Dataverse tables, that type of filtering is no longer exist, and we have discussed this in the Power Platform community, and one of the super user actually created an idea. So if we get more votes, maybe we can actually get this feature back again, so you can filter to only show, for example, the custom columns that you created in a Dataverse table. It's very simple data that we have here. This is a customer table. You will have the customer full name, it will have the email address of the customer, and then the street address and the customer ID. So this is basically the columns that we have in this table. Now I'm going to go back to the table, and I'm going to go to actually show you the form that I have here for this table. And remember, that form I'm using in the model-driven app, so I will also show you that model-driven app. Again, this video is not about how to create a form or how to create a model-driven app. It's mainly about how to use client-side scripting in Dataverse table forms. So I'm gonna go to this form here real quick, and I have the main form, so I'm doing this in the main form. So the main form, it's the form that we use in the model-driven apps to enter or edit records in this customer table. That's what is the main form, and it's a default form that you get once you create a table. You get this main form, you get the quick view form, and you get the card view form. So the main form, it's actually the one we use to enter new records or edit existing record. That's what we use with the Dataverse tables. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this form, and let's go there and see what we have as a design. Again, to not make the video long, again, I have all the steps in the blog post, so you can follow that blog post or read through, and you can actually have all the information. In this form, I have 3 tabs, or actually 3 sections. Remember that you can add sections or tabs if you go to the components here in the tree view. You can add these column tabs. Basically, that's how you make these sections, and then in each section you can add different fields by just going here and adding the fields that are available in this table, customer table. So I have 3 tabs. The first tab is a customer tab. Here you only enter the customer full name, and then we have the address tab, where actually you can enter the address information, the street address, city, state, and postal code. And then the last one, we have a tab to just enter the email address. The scenario or the use case is basically when user actually go to this form from the model-driven app, I need to hide those 2 other tabs or those other 2 sections. So I want to just hide them, only the customer. So once the user enter the customer name, then actually the address tab will show. And then once he enter all the address informations, then the email address will show. And again, this is something we can do in the business process flow and create stages, uh, and it's doable there as well, for the user to enter certain kind of data fields in the table. Once they finish that one, then they can move to the next stage. Here I'm just giving this example to show you exactly how to use the client-side scripting to really do this, and to give you kind of like some tools to start working with this in the future if you want to do different kind of things. All the controls, all the fields, you can actually check certain data, run certain queries across other tables, get certain calculations done, and return some data back, and do some kind of data validations. All this can really be done. If there's nothing that you can do in the business logic out of the box, then you do using the client-side scripting. Here we're going to start with this first tab, which is the customer. Again, before we come to the tabs, I need to basically, when the form load, I would like to hide these two tabs. To do that, so if you go actually to the tree view here, and you go to see this information in the tree view, you can see here actually this is the form. So this is basically, if I click on this, this is the form, and you can tell here, you can see here this is main form information. Obviously you can, if you want to change the name of the display name of the form, you can do that. Nothing we're gonna do here about the name. You can see this power icon here. It's just showing you that this form has an event. If you go here in this event, you can see that I have two places to put event handlers, so on save and on load. So on save, basically wherever I put here, wherever code I put in this area here, it will actually run on the save function when the form is being saved, when that record that you edited or entered, created, is saved. On the load side, that's what we're using here. We have a handle called customer tabs, and this is basically we run this web component. The web component's feature of the Dataverse. It's something that can actually be linked to different type of formatting that we use, or coding that we use in the client side scripting. So basically, initially you don't have anything here, so you have the event handler, and then you click and add the event handler. Obviously you will not have a library here, so you will just click on edit library, and then from here you will actually go ahead and select your JavaScript file that has the code that it will run in the onload event of this form. Before we start doing anything here, I'm going to show you just real quick the code that I have that to run in this form. And this is the code, as you can see. So this is the function. Don't worry about this one. This is a different thing here. But we're talking about this one here. This is this first block here. So I have a function called customer tabs. I have multiple variables. Obviously I'm going to pass the execution context. Basically, I'm passing this when I call this function, the customer tab, which is basically given this function, as an input, given the form context, basically the form that I'm using, or the form that this code is running with. So I can get all the controls and the fields from that form, and then basically I'm checking different kind of criterias. I have this function also in the blog post that you can take a look on it and maybe examine it, test it, play with it, and tweak it as you want. And I will also have in the blog post some of the links for the very useful resources actually in the Microsoft documentation for you to really go through the documentation and learn some of these functions, and see the examples that that they provide in documentations and how to use them. You don't need to be like a really big in JavaScript or big developer. Again, you have to have some kind of development experience in any other language just to understand how to build functions and all these kind of things. So this is the function that we have, and again, I write down this function, and then after that, I just save the file as JavaScript file. So that's the important things. What I will do here, basically, I will select that JavaScript that has the code that I just showed you, and then give that display name for this web resource, and then basically save and publish, and that's everything I do here. And because I already have done this, so that's what we have here. We have this customer tab, so I have this component that I created, web resource I have created, and then you have to type down here the function name that you have in the JavaScript code, this function name right here. So this is very important. So you get this function name, and then you type it here. You enable the function. So you enable this event handler to run, and then you pass the execution context as a first parameter. So basically, I'm passing this form as my first parameter to this function, so that function can run from this form and get all the needed items, controls, and values from this function. And that's it. You do this, and then you just click done, and that's everything. And don't forget to publish once you do that. So this is the first step. For my use case, and again, I said, when the first, the customer, when the user open the form, they will have only the customer tab. They enter the name. Once they enter the name, I need them to see the address. So what I did to do that, the same function I'm using, I just added more kind of variables, more kind of criteria in that function. So we'll do the same thing if I use it to really run in a time where the user change the value or enter a value in the customer full name. And to do that, you select the field. As you can see here, I selected the field. You also see that this field has an event, and the fields has only the on change event. So when on change, so when something change here, right, that's when I'm gonna also call the same function. It will go ahead and call the same function. So if there's something change here, it will call the function. Obviously the function is checking to see if this is blank, then these two are disabled or sorry, not visible. If this is not blank, then show me the address only, right? So this is what the function will do here. So that's what we have here. And also, if you go to the address, so once the user come to the address, what they will do, they will enter the street address, city, state, and postal code. And I also have a function that run in the first field here. It's the same function again. It's the same web resource. The customer tabs here. It's the same one. It's running here as well. Also checking to see if this is blank. Or any one of these blanks, that has no value, it will not show the email tab unless all these are filled. That's how we added this. That's why we added this web resource here, or this JavaScript function here, to run on the on change event of these fields. And the last thing, obviously, once those are filled, now you can see the email. Now let's go and test this. And I'm gonna just show you, a live example of this. So this is basically the model-driven app that I have. And again, as I said, this is a video not about how to create a model-driven app. There is a ton of videos that you can find on YouTube to show you how to build a model-driven app. But in the customer table here, obviously, I'm using the form that I just showed you of that table. So when I click new, that's what's gonna happen. So this is the form here that actually I got. I just showed you there. So basically, if I enter the information here, let's say I'm gonna enter here, I'm gonna enter my, let's say here, my name, you just enter my name, I guess just have it everywhere in testing. So if I enter my name here, and then if I click anywhere, you can see immediately what happened. You can see actually the address tab is actually appeared right here. Do you see it? So that's what, that's exactly what we want to do. If I actually go ahead and just remove this again, see what's going to happen. So it's obviously giving you an error, tell you like the customer full name, because this is a required field based on the column properties on this table. So it shows you that this is a required field, must be filled. So now you just have to fill that one as well. But you can see that also that tab is actually not there anymore. So I'm gonna just go ahead and put the name again. Click here, you can see the address. Now if I go to the address, as you can see here, so that's when we actually go into ahead, and I'm gonna just enter address. So 12345 street, let's put just any random address. City, I'm gonna just put city. State. Again, these are things that you can use JavaScript for, or client-side scripting for, to really even validate the values. If the values equal something, certain things that you're looking for, or certain values, to either give you an error, notifications, disable or enable, show or hide other fields, or that's what you use the client-side scripting for. So state, we're gonna just put like Tennessee, and then here in postal code I'm gonna just put any postal code, like just 1234556, for example. So, and immediately if I click here, now you can see that I have the email tab, right? So if any one of these is hide, again, these are all required field. You see that tab is hidden now, and you have to put back a postal code. And once you put that, you can actually click here, and then you enter your email address, and you can after that save the record. Again, this is only one record. I split up these fields in multiple tabs, sections, and then I force the user to really enter them in a certain orders. You can add to these, as I said before, certain code to really validate not only that the user has entered the value or a value or something on these fields. You can validate what kind of value is this, or you can do some other calculations even to maybe take the value from this field, for example, to look up something and bring, for example, the state, or to do some kind of calculations based on numbers or prices, or all these kind of things. All these things that can be done. If it's not something you can do using calculated columns, for example, or using business rules, it's something will be doable that you can do in the client side scripting. If you visit my blog, again, I'm gonna put the blog post in the description of this video. You can see this information. You will also find some resources that I'm sharing with you here, and I'm gonna just show you. This is basically the documentation we have, for the developers in the model-driven apps. And it's very, very, very useful. And again, maybe not all of you can read, like, coming from like, reading software development kits and all these kind of documentation for developers, but this is really very straightforward and very easy to run. I have put it there, multiple links from all these, links here and categories, so it can really take you to the point or the focus points that you need to really read to build your own scripts when working with model-driven apps. Here we have, for example, I have here, the client references. This is like, one of the great things that you can find here. So you can actually learn, for example, about, the form context and, the different libraries here that we have, different namespaces that you can use. What is, for example, the context, the execution context, and what are the methods and properties that you have here. Like, one of the things I'm using here, for example, is I think I'm using get attributes. So what is the get attributes does? It give you like the syntax, and all these kind of things. You have like also the get value method that I'm also using. Show me that, the form context that get control, the control name, the logical name of the field, basically in your model-driven app, or the logical name that basically of the column that you have in that form, in that section, for example. So this is how you do that. And again, you can search for things here, like, if you have anything that you don't understand in my code in that I'm using in this example, you can just type the function name here or something. You will get information. You will get also the syntax of this function. But this is a great place. I have all these links, different links. Actually, all of them are in this documentation. It's just taking you to different sections that will help you out to have a, some kind of like, beginner idea of how to do these things. And again, the more you practice, the more that you build functions, you will be able to achieve more in this. If you have any questions, always go to the Power Platform community forums. Post your questions there, and you will find someone to answer your question, or you can tag me. My name's there is Ahmed Saleh, again without any space. You can also tag me there, and I will be able to take a look for your code or your issue with this and help you out. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it's a little bit longer today. It's just the topic is too big to cover, in a short time. And please send me any kind of questions that you have from my blog. I have the contact me. You can send me any kind of questions, or find me in LinkedIn, again Ahmed Saleh, or in the Power Platform community forum. Also find me there, Ahmed Saleh, without any space. It's one word, and I will be happy to help you and answer your questions. Thank you so much, and you have a great weekend. See you next time.